I'm going to read to you now one of my favorite stories. And it technically is a children's story, but it's not. It's a story for all of us. And every so often, I get an opportunity. I'm usually at the beginning of Black History Month to read this story. So you'll probably hear this again in February. But I wanted to share it with you today because it is such a great example of all of the Kwanzaa principles in community with each other, wrestling with many of the things that we find ourselves wrestling with, and triumphing for those who are able to do the work of healing, the healing that is necessary in order for us to move forward. The story is called The Eagles Who Thought They Were Chickens. It was recorded by Michael Wynn, and it's a folk tale. So it's not that Michael Wynn wrote this and originated it, but he was able to gather it as one of the many folk tales that our people have circulated from time immemorial. And so I'm looking forward to sharing it with you now. The Eagles Who Thought They Were Chickens, a tale of discovery. In the beginning, there once was a great king who ruled a vast kingdom. He was a wise and compassionate king who had earned the love and admiration and respect of the people. Perched at the right hand of his throne was a great eagle. And each day the eagle would soar through the clouds. And as the great eagle flew throughout the kingdom, the people would look up into the sky with pride as this great eagle symbolized the greatness of the kingdom. It was a land rich in natural beauty and resources. The people were full of pride. They possessed a rich culture and heritage. But one day, the slave ships came, and there was a great battle, and the kingdom it was overthrown. The people from the kingdom were captured, and the great eagle was put into a cage and placed with people on board a slave ship. The great eagle, who had only known freedom, could not live in that cage and would die during the Middle Passage between Africa and the Americas. And upon the death of the eagle, a shipmate went to the captain of the slave ship and said, "Hey, Captain, the great eagle has died. However, she has laid 3 eggs." The captain laughed and said, "Eggs over there with them chickens." The captain knew that this great giant eagle was the last remaining symbol of rich cultural heritage of the people whom he had just captured. That captain knew that her eggs would be hatched and raised as chickens. They would become a symbol of the captain's conquest. Later in the chicken yard, after the slave ship completed the journey to America, the eagle eggs, together with the chickens, were taken to the plantation and placed in the chicken yard. A short time later, the eggs hatched. 2 boys and 1 girl eagle were born. But those cruel and mean chickens laughed at the baby eagles. The chickens, woo-hoo, do you see how ugly those chickens are? Said the chickens, talking about the baby eagles. Look at their big old heads and their short necks. Look at how long and out of position their wings are. They can't even walk right. The chickens laughed heartily, making fun of the baby eagles. And the baby eagles became the objects of constant scorn and ridicule by the chickens. Those 3 beautiful baby eagles were made to feel ugly and inferior. Not knowing of the greatness of their culture and heritage, they walked throughout the chicken yard with their eagle heads hung down, feeling that they were indeed dumb, ugly chickens. Later, when another eagle is captured, that same slave ship made another journey from America to Africa. Another kingdom was overthrown, and another great eagle was captured. However, this eagle survived the Middle Passage. And when the slave ship returned to America, the wings of the great eagle were clipped, and he too was thrown into the chicken yard. But the spirit of that great eagle was not broken, and he flapped his wings, desperately trying to fly. All the chickens in the chicken yard laughed at the frustrated effort of this foolish, ugly chicken. The chickens laughed at the great eagle, saying, "What are you trying to do, you dumb, ugly chicken? Chickens can't fly." You see those Chickens didn't know that the only reason the great eagle could not fly was that its wings had been clipped, but its spirit was not broken. The great eagle responded, I am not dumb, nor am I ugly, and I am certainly not a chicken. The great eagle turned to the three baby eagles who thought they were chickens and said to them, We aren't chickens. We are not chickens. We have come from a land rich in history and cultural heritage. We were not born to walk on the ground like chickens. We were born to soar through the clouds. We are the symbols of a great and proud people. The great eagle then turned to the other chickens and yelled at them, Be quiet and hush now, you foolish chickens. The chickens became frightened by the boldness and arrogance of this great big eagle, who they thought was just an ugly chicken. They ran to the roosters and they told the roosters of the confusion that this ugly big chicken was causing. They told the roosters of how boldly this big old ugly chicken had spoken to them. There were 3 roosters who reigned over that chicken yard. And when they heard of this arrogant chicken, they went to the eagle and demanded that he be quiet, that he stop his boasting and causing so much commotion in the chicken yard. But the eagle spoke boldly to the rooster, saying, How dare you call me a chicken? I am an eagle. The roosters were shocked at the boldness of the ugly chicken, and they immediately attacked the eagle. With his wings clipped, the 3 roosters were simply too much for the great eagle to take, and the roosters pecked and they clawed at the great eagle, beating him mercilessly until he lay on the ground, beaten and defeated, as if he had been beaten by the local police. The roosters and the chicken laughed. They all laughed at the beaten eagle. And one of the roosters turned to the other eagles and said, You dumb, ugly chickens had better not cause any trouble anymore, or the same thing will happen to you. The baby eagles, who were afraid of the roosters, bowed their heads, turned around, and walked away. The great eagle eventually dragged himself into a corner of the chicken yard, where he laid beaten and defeated. The chickens continued to scorn and ridicule the chicken, and he lay there day after day. They teased him, yelling things like, Who do you think you are, you big old dumb ugly chicken? I wish I would live to see the day where a big old ugly chicken would talk to us like that again. They continued pecking and clawing at the eagle, doing everything they could, but using their bodies and their words to make that eagle doubt his own potential, to cause that eagle to doubt the power and the beauty of its own legacy. They did everything that they could to speak nothing but doubt into that eagle's spirit. And the eagle laid there continuously, taking their taunts, dealing with the physical attacks on his body day after day. Later, one day in the chicken yard, one morning, as the chickens came out into the chicken yard, they noticed that the great eagle was no longer lying in the corner. There was all sorts of commotion as the chickens and the eagles, well, the baby eagles who thought they were chickens, all wondered out loud what had happened to the big old ugly chicken. Well, I wonder where he has gone, said one chicken. I do declare, a big old ugly chicken like that surely should just stay in the corner where he belongs. How dare he raise his voice to us? Who did he think he was? It's a good thing those roosters finished with him the way they did. They should have finished him off completely. Who did he think he was talking to us that way, all entitled and arrogant that way? The commotion continued as they wondered out loud where the ugly chicken had gone. When the roosters heard that the chicken whom they had beaten was no longer lying in the corner of the chicken yard, they began crowing loudly, looking all about the place. And one of the roosters asked, Where is that big old ugly chicken? I do declare, if he's causing trouble again, we'll have to teach him another lesson, won't we, Bird? If that big old ugly chicken keeps trying to destroy the peace we have here in the chicken yard. I tell you, as sure as I'm standing here swigging a drip of moonshine, that we're going to teach him another lesson. Ooh, don't you forget it. At just that very moment, one of the chickens pointed to the top of the chicken yard fence and shouted, "What? That is the big old chicken right there." And the chicken was right. There, perched atop the fence, was the great eagle, whose wounds that had been inflicted upon him by the roosters had healed. And not only that, his clipped wings had once again grown full. You see, in the time that the great big eagle had lain there, beaten and wounded in the chicken yard, in that time when the chickens and the roosters who had beaten him thought that the eagle was defeated, what they did not know was that that great big eagle was healing. What looked to those roosters and those chickens like defeat was actually the process of the return of the greatness of the eagle. One of the chickens, now beginning to realize that something in the atmosphere had changed, one of the chickens shouted out to the great big eagle, "You chicken, you better get off of the fence. Chickens cannot fly." One of the roosters shouted, "You big old dumb chicken, we really are going to teach you a lesson this time." One of the baby eagles, who thought they were chickens, shouted, "Hey, man, you better come down from there. You're going to get us all in trouble, dog." But the great eagle simply ignored the demands of the chicken and ignored the threats of the rooster. The great eagle, focused on its purpose, turned to the other eagle and said, "My brother, we are not chickens. When I told you when I first came out here, we are eagles. We are descendants of a strong and proud people. Ours is a history that is rich in its greatness, friend. It's rich in its cultural heritage. We were not born to walk on the ground like the chickens walk. We were born to soar into the clouds. Come with me. Spread your wings and fly." The great eagle spoke with power and authority. The boldness and the conviction of the great eagle's words touched the spirit of one of the baby eagles who, up until this point, had thought they were a chicken. And that baby eagle lifted up his head, spread his wings, and as he flapped his wings, he lifted just a few feet from the ground, but he became frightened and fell back, landing on the ground with a thud. The roosters and the chickens laughed at how foolish and arrogant this great eagle was to tell these ugly chickens that they could fly. But the great eagle focused on its purpose, focused on its ability to define itself, name itself, create for itself, and speak for itself, focused on its kujichagulia. That great eagle spoke again and said, "Trust me, my brothers. Come with me, my sister. You can do it. We can do it. We have the power to soar into the clouds." And with this continued encouragement, the baby eagle flapped his wings again. And again, the baby eagle, as he took off a few feet, this time he didn't land back on the ground with a thud. He began to fly, and he soared high above the chicken yard. The chickens and the roosters, they were speechless. And with wonder and surprise, they could only watch as this great bird, who for the entirety of its life had only known shame and ridicule, who had become to a place where he believed himself to be dumb and ugly, now soared high above the chicken yard with pride and newfound dignity, because his wings were indeed beautiful. His wings were indeed strong. The young female eagle, she didn't need any more encouragement. She simply started running like an airplane going down a runway, flapping her wings, tapping into her purpose. She soared into the sky, full of pride and grace, no longer believing herself to be a dumb, ugly chicken. She realized her brilliance, she realized her beauty, and she soared. The great eagle turned to the last remaining baby eagle and said, "Come with us, brother. Just spread your wings and fly. You can do it." But that last baby eagle lowered his head and said, I cannot. I'm a chicken and chickens can't fly, man. Chickens can't fly. The great eagle knew that his brother had lived with ridicule for too long. His spirit had been broken, his self esteem had been crushed, and his self image had been destroyed. Never knowing the richness of his culture, the brilliance of his people, or the land from which he had come, he did not believe that such a place existed or that he had the power to tap into it and to fly. The great eagle spread his massive wings, and like an eclipse, his shadow covered the chicken yard. He said to the remaining eagle, who was steadfast in his belief that he was a chicken, I'm going to pray for you, my brother, that one day you will come to understand the richness of your cultural heritage, that you too will join us, for our collective destiny is in the skies. And with that, the great eagle flapped his wings and soared with beauty and majesty into the sky, where he joined the other two eagles. Come, my brother, come, my sister, we must journey throughout the land. There are too many eagles who are living as chickens. Their wings have been clipped and their spirits have been broken. And since that day, eagles have been soaring throughout the world, helping others to believe in their beauty, their brilliance, their potential, and the extraordinary possibilities in their own lives. We, too many of us, have become, instead of eagles, we've become eagles who thought we were chickens. And I hope that this story helps to remind all of us of the power and the potential that we have when we choose to tap into our cultural heritage, tap into the love that we have for each other, tap into the ancestral wisdom that is available for us. Because when we do so, we will abandon the false identities that we may have embraced as chickens. And then we too will be able to soar like eagles. My friends, I don't know what it is today that gives you a sense of joy or gratitude or appreciation, but whatever it is, I want you to hold on to it, cherish and nourish it, and sprinkle as much of the juicy goodness of it as you possibly can into the lives of other people, because Lord knows we could all use a bit more of it. And that, my friends, is today's moment of gratitude.